Our next presenter is Addie Parker. Enthralled by the beauty of summer, Addie began landscape painting while growing up in Washington, D.C., studying at Maryland Visual Arts Center and Maryland Institute College of Art. Led her to an interest in Tibetan thangkas as well as travel. Living in Nepal and India, she studied meditation, thought, Tibetan instruments, and music. Upon returning, she began exhibiting her artwork and exploring sustainable living, designing and building an off-grid house in the Kootenai boundary. She is currently the artist in residence at Lee Square in Port Coquitlam. Please welcome to the stage, Addie Parker.
All right, let's get this done. This is the first quilt painting I made about a year ago. The idea to use quilted fabrics as a base for a painting came to me time and again, but I kept pushing it away. I finally gave in and lost myself in the colorful towers of the Fabricland discount corner. Driving home with a lap full of fabric and upholstery rope 10 cents a meter, I wondered, what am I doing? Suddenly invested in this untested process with a sewing machine I got for free on Craigslist, I set to work. When the sewing was done, I stretched the fabric and laid out my paints. Looking at this quilt that I had just spent time and effort to create, faced with painting and potentially destroying it, I asked myself again, what am I doing? This thought comes all at once to all of us during all types of activities. Making progress in whatever task is at hand, we steadily march along until a difficulty arises, and suddenly we question our entire endeavor. These visceral moments of doubt stop us in our tracks. After painter Richard Diebenkorn passed away in 1993, a handwritten letter was found in his studio, notes to myself on beginning a painting. Many of the points approach and even embrace the unknown, such as number 1, attempt what is not certain, and number 9, tolerate chaos. And while this list reveals how functioning within the unknown was important to his creative process, number 8, keep thinking about Pollyanna, the poster child of positivity, shows that although the experience of the unknown is useful and important, it isn't always comfortable. Therefore, positivity is something to be intentionally developed. So what happens when we relax into the unknown? What benefits can we reap by developing our tolerance to uncertainty? Softening our grip on the illusion of complete control can broaden our view and make us more open to fresh ideas and finding solutions in different places. We become flexible, brave, and imaginative. Sometimes incredible things happen when we try something new. We might meet the love of our life or find our new favorite flavor of ice cream, or maybe both on one awesome date. When people talk to me about making art, often they say that they would love to paint or draw, but that they don't know how. I think maybe that's a great reason to start. In my work, I look to use what is personal and familiar to people to create a connection through which they can explore art. A couple years ago, I ran a Kickstarter project to send handwritten letters to strangers. Recipients could answer anonymously on my website. I planned on exhibiting the letters and responses with a series of paintings I was working on. After sending out a bunch of letters, I got one reply. Although no response was an interesting result, I did decide to try a different approach. Instead, I asked people to title my paintings. With abstract art, I am often asked, well, what does it mean? This experiment turned that question around. It became my Untitled series, shown this summer on Granville Island. Each painting was exhibited with 20 different titles. Showing the work in that way made it more of a dialogue rather than a single person's thoughts. And compiling the titles was an interesting foray into other people's minds. The experience of using other people's input in my artwork has led me to my quilt series. Instead of scouring Fabricland, during my residency at Lee Square, I'm using donated fabric and clothing to create the basis for my paintings. This project has given me new ideas and revealed avenues of creative inspiration. Where it will lead, there's a map coming. Where it will lead is unclear, but investigating my ideas has given me a starting point. Each painting is a different journey, sometimes direct, sometimes hopelessly meandering, giving me an opportunity to go further. Beginning a painting, I first disassemble clothes and linens and sew them into a quilt of sorts. The various fabrics create a kaleidoscope of vaguely recognizable clothing shapes, and each surface reacts differently with the paint. After painting, I detail them with hand embroidery. I am often asked what kinds of fabrics I'm looking for and what I like to use. Part of the interest for me is using whatever I'm brought and challenging myself to make it interesting and beautiful in the context of the paintings. This one is made from jeans. The seams, pockets, and hems give dimension and inspiration for the layers of paint. The jeans in the piece that I used were ripped in the knees, but there was still a lot of usable denim. After throwing them under the sewing machine, I suddenly had this amazing surface to work on. And while the upcycled fabrics give me free and inspiring material, they also give me a basis for investigating usage and waste. When I go shopping for clothes, it isn't usually because I've just run out of clothing. Our wardrobes change, and some of the clothes that we no longer wear are too worn out to be donated. These items are the perfect fodder for my work. Upcycling materials challenges me artistically, but also nods to the generations of women in my family and around the world whose efforts have brought value to materials after their first purpose was exhausted. The paints that I'm using are also repurposed. Sold as mistents, they were destined for walls until an error sent them to the as-is, no-return section of a local hardware store. The use of these materials reflects my interest in the unexpected, that which is not conventionally precious, interest in recovering value and beauty in the mundane and even waste. I took these pictures on a recent trip to Morocco. People there joked with me that I mostly took pictures of trash. I laughed with them, but when I went home and looked through those pictures, I had to admit that they were right. I guess I figured there were already lots of pictures out there of the iconic stuff, and the spontaneous moments of rubbish on the street were truly unique and impermanent. Making paintings out of found materials in a space which is open to the public, I am challenging myself to make use of what is around me and to find art there. Inviting the unknown, I am open to wondering what I'm doing, and okay when I answer back that I don't always know, but I like where it's going. If you are interested in contributing material to this growing body of work, please contact me through my website, actualpaint.com. Thank you.